Hey, all right, so we're here with Evan and Magdalena from Bluebeard Coffee Roasters. How's it going?
Excellent.
Yeah. You guys were kind enough to sit down with us and answer a few questions for our roaster interview series. Really appreciate it. So we can jump right into some questions, if that sounds good.
That's great. Thanks for coming.
That's fine. So the first thing that we like to ask always is what your history with coffee is like, and kind of what brought you to the industry and to roasting specifically too.
So I've been drinking coffee my whole life. I think my mom gave it to me for the first time when I was a very small child. And I just kind of always knew that I wanted to at least start off on coffee and be a barista and see where that goes. Yeah.
Cool.
Now I'm roasting.
That's great.
Yeah, I have a similar family connection. I remember that my dad would always be making coffee in the morning, and as a kid I really didn't care for the smell of it, but then that changed as I grew older and needed coffee. But yeah, it works in cafe and always appreciated the cafe culture. For me, I've kind of dabbled between other hospitality and service industry in the restaurants and bakeries, and came back to coffee because it was so fascinating. I love it so much. So
Cool. Yeah, and we should probably say like you're more involved on the roasting side, and then you're more on business.
the wholesale
Yeah.
manager. So it's for me, it's kind of an extension of the service model where I'm connecting with our customers who then are serving our coffee to their customers who are, maybe those folks will make their way into the roastery or they find their coffee other places. But small enough business that we all kind of wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Quality control and selection of coffee.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
we'll get into
Yeah.
that.
What's your favorite part about the roasting process specifically?
Well, I like that I am able to create something every day that I'm working, and that I like that I come into work and I'm like, oh, I've got a whole list to get done.
Yeah.
And the organizing and just the fact that we're creating something beautiful every day, and that we constantly buy beautiful coffees that we're really privileged to have. So.
And what would you say is like your favorite origin process? If you had to pick something. Or multiple is fine.
Currently,
Yeah.
I'll just take it currently
Yeah.
short and sweet. Our vanilla Javier Martinez, which is a washed coffee, is definitely my favorite coffee to roast right now, and it's so beautiful to roast, and the curve is so consistent every time, and especially like with the weather changes, it gets warm and then it gets cold in here, and
Sure.
it's just a coffee that wants to roast beautifully every time you roast it, and I definitely improve so in the cup as well. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think for me too, my tastes and preferences for coffees have changed over the years.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I'm always excited about what's newly arriving, and I have to hold off from only promoting or being excited about the newest
Absolutely.
coffee on the shelf.
Yeah.
But I guess knowing that our seasonal approach to coffee and always seeing new coffees arrive as they're fresh and tasting their best at peak of flavor is always exciting to me. To make that connection as a produce product. And Kenyan coffees have always been some of my favorites, just for their dynamic acidity and juiciness, more fruit forward profiles. But then I find myself going to the Guatemalan, especially like our Javier Martinez produced a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year too, Colombian coffees have just blown me away. We had a really my favorite was probably the Finca El Viso from Willa.
I remember that one well. Yeah.
That one, it's just super sweet, but also approachable, kind of easy to make in the morning and not have any qualms about it.
Yeah.
So
We talk a lot about too. There's like a curve that happens, I think, when you start getting into specialty coffee, where you like try a natural for the first time. It's like, whoa, I didn't know it could taste like this. And then I know for me, it was like months where I was on the train of like, this is the only kind of coffee you should drink because this is so flavorful. And then you start to realize that like, yeah, that's exciting for a while, but really there's a breadth and depth to coffee that is like everything is interesting.
And clarity too.
Yeah, for sure.
You get into those naturals and it's just like it's so in your face. But then you get like the Javier Martinez, which was washed, and it's has those like beautiful floral and sweet and juicy characteristics with a little bit of cocoa, milk chocolate in there, and it's just like, well, this is like a big bodied, coffee too, and that I think for me it's just really loving that clarity of just like it's a washed coffee.
Yeah. So when you're sourcing coffee, is that mostly what you're looking at is producer and process, or are there other specific things that you look for when going through that process?
Yeah, that's a big, complex question for sourcing because there's a lot of variables that go into it. I mean, I think we're definitely looking for sweetness and clarity of flavor, and coffees that are going to fit within our seasonal menu at a given time. But then, those are just kind of flavor notes, I guess. And since our roast profile is really approaching more of a kind of caramelized medium sweetness, we're not, we need to have coffees that are going to hold their weight on their own and that are able to stand up as just a black coffee or milk or sugar,
Sure,
or however people want to drink it. But then the sourcing, that's an area where we're conscious of the hurdles that are happening right now with producers, and I think there's often a disconnect between roasters, especially in the U.S., between producers just because of the geographical distance, where we're not really as cued into where the coffee's coming from. Mostly speaking for customers may not know what all is involved, or we talk about the C market, how that affects specialty prices.
Yep.
As a result, we're very conscious of that and want to make sure that we're ethically sourcing coffees so that there's a future for the coffees that we like to drink for the producers that are farming them.
Yep, I know, and that's a thing that we look at with both roasting partners, and then also in the way that we try to educate about coffee. And I think, thankfully, among third wave roasters in general, it's becoming a more common thing to try to connect where the coffee is produced and who the people producing it are with the roaster, with the final cup, which I think that's extremely important. And I'm glad to see that that's become a bigger part of the conversation across a lot of roasters that work. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a complex supply chain that's not so easy to say like, oh, we go straight to a farm and pay a farmer. There's exporters and the importers and everything that goes into to bringing the coffee here. I think when we explain that whole complex relationship, especially I've noticed with our wholesale partners, the people are often surprised about like how many steps along the way, and it just I think it puts more significance on when you're preparing your coffee. You want to do it right. I mean, that's the final step. Like it's made it to your pour over or your espresso machine. So let's make it delicious. And awesome.
So what's the hardest part of all of it? Like of the whole, it's a specific part of the roasting process, or the sourcing, or the selling?
I think on a day-to-day, like week-to-week, you go on to work and you're kind of tired, and we get busier every month, it feels like, and just making sure that you're staying on top of your pars and making sure that you're not roasting too much and not under roasting, and like you're covering for the cafe's needs and then the retail needs, and then wholesale, which is just kind of okay, wholesale, those numbers, they're written in the list, they're set in stone, but then you're kind of playing the
emergency
guesstimate
orders
game, and then have a little bit extra just
right.
in case, and you want to be able to do your best to accommodate everybody without completely over roasting and having way too much, because that's a huge thing. It's managing, and trying really hard not to waste. That I think is probably like the most challenging aspect, from a week-to-week basis. I love doing that because it's just it's fun. It's fun math, for the week. But also just making sure staying on top of what your product is, and just making sure that you kind of visit your wholesale accounts, and you see what the public's tasting every day, and sometimes somebody needs to have their machine cleaned, and just kind of quality control, and making sure that we're all on the same page. So
that's what a lot of times that's what we hear, is that some aspect of the business part is the hardest thing. The art of doing the roasting part is fun and experiment, and that's not the hard. Once you've learned it, that's not the hard part. It's all the business stuff around it.
Yeah, I certainly the any business, I think scaling it has its challenges, and especially when you're dealing with relatively expensive perishable product that you have to forecast how much you're going to need in 6 or 9 months from now, and then managing all of that can be tricky.
Sure.
From a outside, once it's here and we're trying to get it out to our customers' point of view, what's tricky for me is conveying the excitement that I have about a coffee sometimes. It's easy to get the coffee very insular tunnel vision, where we're all super excited about something, and isn't this producer from Wheela killing it? And you step outside of that, and
absolutely.
Sometimes it's just going to your mom or dad's house, and they're okay, whatever, and but if I can get someone to have that kind of aha moment, if it's at a cupping table or some kind of experience where even if it's just a realization that there is variation, and there's coffee doesn't have to be just this kind of mundane routine,
right?
And they can have it be something that is a great part of their lives every day, then that's a goal that has been achieved. So
cool.
It's hard to distill that into something that people can readily accept and digest without kind of getting into the nerdy coffee enthusiast details sometimes. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's one of the hardest parts of what, at least I feel, I do with us too. It's trying to convey that to people who are not already interested in that product. Explain why they should be.
Sure.
So you mentioned before, you talked a little bit about Bluebeard style. You describe it in a couple places as a perfect medium. How did you arrive at that? Because I think that's really interesting, because there's so many in the region that became so known for super dark, and then now you have the whole spectrum. We have some roasters that are super light.
Right.
So I've always thought that your style of for right in the middle approachability is
well, that particular phrase I think carries a lot of ambiguity on purpose.
Sure.
And there's some play on meaning there, because I think at the end of the day, our company, we're trying not to take ourselves too seriously. It's at the same token, if you're gonna do one thing, which is primarily roasting and preparing coffee, do that one thing really well.
Yeah.
And so if we're having the perfect medium, I think you just said it, we're in an area that's been traditionally super saturated with a darker, heavier roast profile, and the opposite swing of that pendulum has gone to a much lighter roast style, I think. it's still making its way up north in the Tacoma and Seattle area, I think, but there's a point where I think you have to, find that middle ground in your development, and we're looking, like I said, we're looking for sweetness, we're looking for that clarity of flavor, but roasting is also a value-added operation to the coffee. The coffee has to be roasted to achieve caramelization.
Yeah.
Sweet. And sometimes there can be a mindset where it's like, well, you go lighter and lighter, and it's gonna taste just like the way it should taste. But you start to get into more astringent flavors, I think, at a certain point. And it can be a little grassy, and then we start looking at solubility. It's like, well, why can't somebody produce this at home as well as we can on our Fetco or our KB, 90 espresso machine? It's like, well, at the end of the day, we've got to think about the coffee and our end user who's preparing it. And the perfect medium, I think, is an idea where it's right there in the middle. It's accessible, and it's also a medium to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah, accessible really is what I think of, and not in a like this is a gateway and then go to other stuff with your coffee. It's more accessible,
right? Because
it is really good and really approachable.
Sure.
So it's a perfect mix of like it's a coffee you want to usually coffee you want to keep coming back to you, but also ones you can show people who are nerds.
Yeah. Well, and within our whole coffee lineup, we throughout the year really try, I think, pretty successfully to have a range of flavor profiles that can be, hitting on those super fruity, natural kind of notes sometimes, or a little more less cerebral or in your face, and more just kind of chocolatey and hazelnuts. A morning, Latin blend, and without designating, this is a light roast or a dark roast. We're not pigeonholing a certain mindset of what a coffee should taste like or should taste like.
Yeah.
So I think that can be helpful with customers being able to talk about coffee. It's like, well, if you tend to like a darker roasted coffee, then we can help guide you towards something that you enjoy.
So I guess along those lines, are there specific flavors that you're trying to get out of coffees when you're roasting them, or are you more sort of letting the coffee do the talking and accepting what it's giving you?
I think it's definitely a little bit of both. Because you can only manipulate the coffee so much while roasting. And I think like overall as a cafe, we want to preserve the acidities, not roasting too dark, but we still want those sugars in there. We want sweetness. We want we want clarity. It's just kind of like it's just a balance of what we kind of overall go for, and of course we're gonna like it, but we also have to think about our clientele and who it's going to all over, and so we just kind of want to find that sweet spot. So
cool. Yeah. You kind of talked before. We talked before a little bit about how styles of roasting are spreading. So have you found the local community in Tacoma has influenced the way that you roast and produce coffee?
I definitely think that we do have a newer roastery in Tacoma, but I think that since we've been around, that we kind of brought something new to the table as far as specialty coffee goes, and kind of the point of specialty coffee as far as preserving the integrity of the coffee, and while still catering to the community and the clientele, that it's we want to do as much service to the coffee as we can, as far as the origin that it's coming from, and we want to just prove that these these are the beautiful coffees that we have.
Yeah, I think there's always a balance between like, and it can be easy to, especially if you're only tasting your own coffee, and your roast is changing and maybe it's creeping lighter or darker, and sometimes you may not become aware of it. It just is working with a company. And, feedback from our customers is invaluable to how the coffee's tasting. And it's not to say that you have to cater to every single request, and it's often being confident in what you're presenting and saying, no, this is actually like what we really believe in and enjoy. And I think you will too. You'll get some folks, and I think most of them will hop along for the ride to try those coffees.
Cool. Yeah. I think that what we hear a lot is like influence people's tastes a little bit, and the community kind of gives you feedback. You listen to that some, but ultimately you're kind of making coffee that you want to serve people.
Right.
So do you have? We talked about some kind of more recent roasts. Is there anything big picture that you can remember from roasting that was your favorite one that you did?
This is a little funny. So it was one of our blenders that it was the Honduras Santa Magali, and that coffee it looked so beautiful and uniform in the tray, and it was one of our blenders for our El Capitan at the time, and it held up on its own too, which is just kind of like when you're building a blend, you're taking components and different characteristics of each coffee, and that one, you made a pour over of it, on its own, and it was just kind of like, this is just like such a good coffee to have like as a pour over or a strip, and it was another coffee that we had that was just like kind of blew us out of the water unexpectedly as far as just like how well it held up and how beautifully it roasted and just consistent grooves.
Cool. Do you have any advice? I have some friends that I don't know a lot of people actually that are like really into roasting at home, and they are always some of them are always wondering like what's a way they can take that to the next level and make it a more of a professional thing than a hobby thing. You can advise for somebody looking to do that.
I've found when I've spoken to home roasters, sometimes it's a little challenging because a lot of people have really big opinions right off the bat.
Right, yeah.
And so aside from just listening to, tools given to you, I think it's kind of hard to, just jump into roasting without having to work in a cafe setting for, putting in your time. And so, where it's just like, I admire that you're giving that a try, but like, when you haven't actually worked with coffee and then you're just going for it with roasting, it's just like, well, you gotta understand all aspects of it and the different roles of, where, the coffee is in the cafe. And so, it's just kind of like, that's cool that you're home roasting, but like, have you ever worked on an espresso machine before? Like, do you know how a grinder works? Like, sure, like, you might have roasted something that's pretty nice for a home roast, but like, how is it gonna hold up as far as preparing it goes?
Sure.
So, there's only so much you can control, and, however somebody is home roasting, whether it's like a skillet or, a little air popper. It's just kind of like, okay, like you only have so many tools at home, and you have to understand that like I've been in the industry for 12 years now, and I've put my time in as a barista. So it's just kind of like, you understand that end goal of what it's going to taste like in the cup, and where you want it to be, as well as roasting it. So.
Yeah, I think there's some parallels with home espresso is a challenging one, and as you at Seattle Coffee Gear do really well promoting and catering to folks who want to like leap into a more professional or semi-pro level of making coffee. It's difficult to replicate something that you have at a cafe where you have people with decades of experience using commercial equipment, and then you go home with the same bag of beans and you don't get the same result.
Right.
There's often like a question of, well, it should be a simple fix, right? And it's like, well, there's always all these little variables along the way, and I think if people are enthusiastic about their coffee, be it from a home roasting standpoint because they want to like be more involved with the craft of it, and that's exciting. That's great. Like bringing more awareness around our industry and around especially coffee. Coffee that's equitably paid for and sourced. Other voices that are excited about it are important too. And I think there's more pathways for people to get into other sides of the coffee industry as we're growing on the roasting side. Maybe it's the technician side. That often seems like something that there is a bit of a dearth of coffee technicians out there. And I know the technician field is a relatively new area where people are seeking avenues to work in the industry. And they're becoming more available. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have one final question. What is your favorite way to drink coffee? Your favorite roast, your favorite method. Not to name the roast, but
I would say that probably, as long as I've been drinking coffee, like I definitely had a latte phase for a while, but I've never been one to order very large drinks. So every day I always start out with a really short Americano, and I definitely I love drinking espresso, but when you're trying we do a single origin, and then we do our blend, our Nero's blend, for our espresso bar. And so when you're trying either of those, or just kind of seeing how something tastes on single origin espresso, I've always felt like adding just a little bit of water really makes those characteristics of it open up. Kind of putting an ice cube in whiskey.
Sure.
So yeah, I've always just like plain black coffee and preferably Americanos or porters.
I'll kind of cheat that and say that at home, I'm happy to drink drip coffee or filtered coffee. That's every single day. For as long as I can remember, I've prepared coffee that way, either as a pour over or in a batch brewer. I think if you can make a really solid cup of coffee with a filtered process and a clean, sweet example of how a coffee is going to taste. And then as I've worked in cafe culture and in the roastery or a setting that has an espresso machine and visit cafes, I also opt for a small Americano. But it can be really difficult to get a 6-ounce Americano if you order one. Without giving a lot of instructions.
Sure.
So, yeah, sometimes an espresso is a great way to have a distillation of a coffee. Americano is probably my other favorite way to drink it too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Great talking to you. Appreciate all the insights. And I think that's it for us.
Cool. Thanks for coming.